Hello, I'm Holly and welcome to a reading vlog. Today is the first day of December. December and Christmas is my absolute favourite time of the year, and I wanted to do a reading vlog welcoming this festive season in. So I do still have a lot of books on my end of year TBR that I want to get to. I am actually in the middle of one right now, which is called The Meaning of Night. But for the next week, 2 weeks, 10 days, I don't know how long it's going to take me. I have set myself a festive TBR and I thought that I would vlog my experience. So I have a couple of physical books here, and then I'm going to be looking at Scribd and Kindle Unlimited. There are a few books on my radar and I'm just going to try and get through as many as I can, and then in those last couple of weeks of the year I will return to my end of year TBR. I will leave a link to that in the description if you haven't seen that, and try and just hit a few more of those goals that I set myself at the beginning of the year. The first two books that I want to read are the sequels to The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher. The second book is The Christmasaurus and the Winter Witch, and the third one is The Naughty List. I'm not entirely sure if that's the order. I think that is. I'll have to double check that before I read this. But the first book, The Christmasaurus, is a middle grade children's book. It is leaning on the younger side, and it's following this boy who is in a wheelchair and he meets the Christmasaurus. It is incredibly magical and fun, and there was actually a musical version done of the book, in that there was also an audiobook that had songs and music all the way throughout, and I absolutely loved that audiobook. If you can get a hold of it, I would highly recommend it. It was so fun and Christmassy last year, and this year I want to finish off the series. That is one of my big goals, to finish more series, and I thought that because these ones are children's books and there are lots of illustrations as well, so you've got writing like that, you've got illustrations, I thought that they would be pretty quick reads and it would be nice to finish the series. There is a book that is really popular this year. I will put a little picture here, the one that I'm talking about, and I have heard that one is really good and it's really popular this year. I think it was a new release for 2022 and I would like to fit that one in. But those are all my plans, and I hope that you enjoy this vlog. It is now Saturday the 3rd, so it has been a couple of days since I last updated you, but I have been doing a lot of festive things. I put my festive duvet on, you will have seen that, and then this weekend hopefully there will be enough time to decorate the house. I have already been round to my nan's house and helped her to decorate, so I have put up one tree, but now is the time to decorate my house. Me and my mum are hopefully this weekend going to do it, and I say hopefully because we do actually have a lot of other things going on this weekend. There are a few Christmas markets and Christmas events we want to go to, but I do actually have a couple of reading updates. The first update is that I have already finished a book, and that is The Christmasaurus and the Winter Witch. This is the second book in the Christmasaurus series, which is a middle grade series, and you're following this boy called William, and he meets the Christmasaurus and he meets Santa and he goes to the North Pole and he has to save Christmas, and in this one you are introduced to the character of the Winter Witch. I don't really want to tell you too much, but I thought that she was going to be the villain, but she actually plays a very important role in Christmas, and there is a lot of time travel in this because of her powers. I absolutely loved this one. I gave the first book, The Christmasaurus, 5 stars, but I think that was a little bit to do with the way that I consume that story. I listened to the audiobook of that, and I listened to the musical edition in particular, which was just fantastic. That is the audiobook but with additional songs. So this one couldn't reach the heights of my love for that first one, but I did still rate this one at 4.5. It was still so perfect for Christmas. There is so much joy and magic in these books. They offer a new take on the Christmas mythology in terms of how Santa travels the world, and the elves and the reindeers, and obviously the Christmasaurus. I also think the characters in these books are fantastic. They're so three-dimensional, and I loved the development of relationships between certain characters in this, in terms of familial relationships, friendships. There were a couple of moments in here where I had a couple tears because it just hit me right in the heart. And if you do have kids or you're just a Christmas loving adult, I would highly recommend picking this one up. I did also start a second book, and that one is Merry Little Meet Cute. I haven't got the book in front of me because I listened to the audiobook and then I got the ebook. I just don't love audiobooks at the moment. For some reason I just can't focus, so I did get the ebook. But this one is interesting. Don't let the sweet cover fool you, because this one is actually pretty sexy. I think that it's going to have some very steamy scenes, and I think this one is written by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. And in this one, I've only just read the first few chapters, but you have been introduced to the two love interests. The first one is this woman who is essentially a porn star, and she gets a call from a producer of some of the films that she's been in, and he is making a really sweet, wholesome Christmas film. Think Hallmark movie. He's trying to switch his career a bit, and he loses the leading lady. She is in an accident, and he has to find leading lady in like one day. So he just calls up an actress that he knows, and she really wants to go more mainstream. This is a bit of a dream for her, and she takes the opportunity to be part of this film. And then the second perspective you are reading from, you do have dual perspectives in this, but the love interest is this guy who used to be a music star in a boy band, but he has done a few questionable things. He was a bit of a bad boy. He's had some very negative stories about him come out in the news, and he is wanting to star in this cute, wholesome Christmas movie to restore his reputation. And if you couldn't tell from that description, I think that this one is definitely going to lean more on the steamier side, but I am hoping that I do end up really enjoying that one. I have heard some great reviews. I think that it is one of the most popular books this year because it was a new release, and I'm hoping to continue with that one a little bit later on today. It is now Monday the 5th of December, and I thought that I would come in and give you a little bit of an update. So over the weekend I went to a few Christmas markets, and I fully intended to get some footage, and then I completely forgot. But I'm sure if you've ever been to a Christmas market, you can imagine what it was like. And I did manage to pick up a few presents, so that was absolutely lovely. And then I have also been watching a few things. For example, last night I watched Home Alone, and I've never seen Home Alone before. I know it's a travesty, but I did really enjoy that. And then I also have some reading updates. I have got a little bit further through a Merry Little Meet Cute, and I am enjoying this one so much. It is exactly my kind of romance. There is a lot of cheesy stuff, and obviously it has a lot of Christmas tropes in it, but it kind of twists them a bit. And then there is also this incredible romantic sexual tension between the two main characters, and I am just thoroughly enjoying that one. It is absolutely perfect for the holidays, for Christmas. Hello, it is now Tuesday afternoon and I have finished A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone, and I really enjoyed that one. I ended up rating it 4 stars, so I did enjoy it. It wasn't a 5-star read for me. I think this one is perfect if you love the cheesiness of Hallmark Christmas movies, but maybe you want a little bit more spice with the sugar. I think this had a great mix of both elements, and for me that worked perfectly. I can find the sweet Christmas romances just a little bit, I don't know, not exciting enough for me, a little bit plain, a little bit stale. But I do love the whole Christmas atmosphere of those films, so this one definitely gave me both elements that I like in my romances. I also particularly liked the premise of this and the whole setting. So you are set in this town that is essentially just made for these Hallmark Christmas movies. Most of the town's like income comes from that, and there's lots of Christmas themed shops and bars and restaurants and all that kind of thing, and it just had so many of the Christmassy vibes, and it was ready made for the Christmassy scenes that you get in these Hallmark movies. So there was an ice rink, there was snow, there was like a craft store, and it definitely was just a perfect setting. And I did love the premise of this because it actually made the stakes a little bit higher than you would expect in a typical Christmas romance. It made that conflict in the final part a lot more realistic and understandable, rather than it just being some miscommunication between the two leads. There was actually a bigger problem, a bigger thing that they had to work through, and I really enjoyed that. I also really appreciated how sex positive this was. Obviously this is discussing the adult film industry, and I loved how it did discuss the stigma around sex work, and it tried to combat that a bit. And B, or Bianca, is very much a multifaceted character. She wants to be this object of desire and she really loves her career as an adult film star, but she also wants to star in a Christmas movie, and she wants to explore this different side of her passion and her dreams. It is also very fat positive because the main female character is plus sized, and then also the two leads are openly bisexual, and again it was just nice to have that casual representation in a book like this. I think the only thing that let this one down a little bit for me were the sex scenes. I loved the chemistry between the two main characters, and I did think the build-up of their relationship was very believable. But for me, once we got into the sex scenes, it was just like wham bam and it's over. And I love a more like slow progression and things to like slowly build up in a scene. And I think that this is completely personal preference, although that is a big thing in romance. It is, what do you enjoy reading about? And for me, they just felt over a little bit quick. And then finally, also just the language in those scenes. There are a couple of words that just made me cringe a bit. I don't want to say them out loud in this video. There were just some words that I don't particularly love, but again, that's personal preference. A lot of people will probably not even like notice them when they're reading, but for me, I was just like, ugh, when I was reading them, and that definitely pulls you out of the story in those scenes. But overall, I did really enjoy this one, as I said, and I would definitely recommend it if it sounds like it might be your kind of romance. So those are all my updates, and I will speak to you when I have started my next read. it is now Thursday the 8th of December and I have a reading update for you. So I am about halfway through the Christmasaurus and the Naughty List, and unfortunately I'm not loving this one as much as I enjoyed the first two. In this one you start off with Santa and he is going through the nice and naughty lists, and every year at the beginning, I think it's the 1st of December, he weighs them because they should pretty much be balanced. If there are too many kids on the naughty list, less people will believe in Santa, and if people don't believe in Santa, he will cease to exist. So you need to have a good balance. But obviously it turns out that there are far too many kids on the naughty list, and he essentially tells the Christmasaurus, or hints to the Christmasaurus, that the Christmasaurus should go and try and get some of these kids back on the nice list. The main reason I'm not loving this one as much, I'm still really enjoying it, it's still really funny and really magical, but you aren't necessarily following the characters that you do in the previous two books all the time. So in the previous two books, the main character is a boy called William Trundle and his father and his friends. And you do eventually go to William, I think, in this book, because William for some reason is on the naughty list, but he is the last name on the list. So the Christmasaurus is going to all these other kids, and it's almost like a collection of just short stories or snippets as he's trying to help these naughty children get onto the nice list. And it does also seem like there are a lot of hints to Tom Fletcher's other middle grade books. So it's almost like, if you want to learn more about this character, check out one of my other books, which is fine. I like that there is this whole universe of books that, you know, they're all connected in some way, but I just really want to get back to William Trundle and his family. I love him as a character and I love that family unit, and as much as I enjoy following the Christmasaurus, he is a dinosaur and he doesn't speak. And you are just meeting all these new characters who I have no emotional connection to, if that makes sense. Like I said though, it is still pretty heartwarming, and I'm hoping that in that last section we will finally get back to William Trundle. I think there's probably only a couple more children that he has to get to. So look, there's like the naughty list at the beginning and you're just slowly working your way through all of these people. So we've just done Illinois, and I think we've got one more and then it'll be William Trundle. So hopefully we'll get back to the Trundles very soon. But that is my reading update, and I'm hoping that I can finish this one today, and that might be the last book that I read in this vlog. I will probably do another vlog, but there just seems to be a lot of books and I feel like this one's getting a little bit lengthy, so I thought that I would split it into two. I have now finished the Christmasaurus and the Naughty List, and I'm sad to say that I'm going to be rating this one 3.5. I did still enjoy this one. 3.5 isn't a bad rating by any means, but in this one I did feel that we missed out on the Trundle family and it seemed to diverge a bit from the rest of the series. Obviously these books are still for kids, so does my rating even mean anything? And I do think that kids are absolutely going to love this series, but just from an enjoyment perspective, I definitely enjoyed the first two books in this series a little bit more than this one. But apart from that, I did still enjoy this. It's still a lot of fun, it's still really funny, and I would highly recommend it if you have kids or you're into middle grade. This is a great festive middle grade to read around this time of the year. And I think that is it for this vlog. Let me know what you've been getting up to in December. Have you watched any great festive films? I've watched quite a few and I'm hoping to watch quite a few more. And then have you read any festive books, or have you just read any books in December that you have absolutely loved so far? But that is it for today's vlog. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and to everyone out there, stay curious. Bye!